What's up guys, I'm Sean. Today I'll be doing more maintenance on my E9X M3. I already did the oil change when I did the rod bearings. If you haven't seen that video yet, check it out. So now it's time to flush the transmission fluid. I'm going with Redline MTLV. And I'm going to flush the diff fluid, and I'm going with Redline 75W140. I bought this kit from BMW. I already drove my car a few miles just to warm up the fluid. So with the fluid warm, now it's time to remove the transmission tray. Starting on the transmission, that's the front of the car. Move the 10 right there. And 3/8. And there's an 8 right here too, and an 8 on that side. $8mm hex. Gonna loosen the fill bolt first. Always do that first, because if that jams, you can't refill the transmission. Then we're gonna loosen the drain bolt. Alright, it's all set up with my breaker bar. Break it loose, wasn't bad. Now I'm gonna break loose the drain bolt. Not bad. Have my bucket ready and some clean towels. Just gonna loosen the fill bolt first to see if there's any overflow coming out. Alright, no overflow. Now we're gonna do the drain bolt, and it's gonna get messy. Alright, I'm gonna let this drain for a few minutes. So now I'm on the passenger side of the transmission. I'm gonna loosen the 22mm right here. That's for the oil strainer. You need a stubby, short 22mm socket. Break it loose. This looks pretty clean. I might just spray it down a little bit. Alright, I just cleaned the oil strainer with some brake clean. You can buy a new gasket or a new oil strainer, but I figure mine looks good. I'm just going to reinstall it and just torque this down to 18 foot-pounds. Transmission is pretty much empty. Now I'm going to reinstall the drain plug. You can buy a new one, but I'm just going to reuse the one I have. Torque the drain plug to 26 foot-pounds. Alright, now we can fill the transmission, but before I do that, I want to make sure I drain the differential while the fluid is still warm. Now we're at the differential. Similar to the transmission, we're going to loosen the fill plug before we loosen the drain plug. 14mm hex socket, 14mm hex socket. I have my tray right here. It's loose. Alright, both loose. Just going to remove the fill plug first to see if it's overfilled. A little bit, not bad. So now I'm going to loosen the drain plug. Alright, I'm going to let this drain. Then I go back to the transmission. I have my fluid pump inserted into the Redline bottle. I bought the fluid pump from Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. Insert the hose into the fill port. And just start pumping away. Probably use about 2 quarts before I start to see it overflow out. When it overflows out, that means you're pretty much good. Alright, I put in just about 2 quarts, and you can see how it's overflowing. That means it's good enough for now. I'm just going to reinstall the fill plug and torque it to 26 foot-pounds. But we're not done just yet. So it's been recommended that we go for a test drive and let the fluid warm up again, and then reopen that fill bolt to see if any fluid comes out. If fluid comes out, then you're good. If fluid does not come out, then you want to add a little bit more fluid. So we're going to do that later, but now we have to go back to the diff. Now we're back at the diff. The BMW kit came with the fill and drain plugs, which are identical. You can reuse yours if you want, but because these came with new plugs, I'm going to install it. Install the drain plug first and torque it down to 44 foot-pounds. Now we have to get our fluid pump and start pumping in fluid, similar to what we did for the transmission. All right, I have my new fluid pump ready with my diff fluid. Insert the fill and start pumping away just like the transmission. So this should only take maybe a quart or a little bit more than a quart. So start pumping it away until it starts to drip out. I put in about 1.5 quarts. Now it's overflowing. That means there's enough fluid. Now we have to torque the fill bolt similar to the drain bolt, 44 foot-pounds. That's it. The rear diff is done. Now I just have to go back to the transmission. Before we reinstall the panel, I'm going to go for a test drive. So I'm going to drive it for maybe 10-15 minutes to warm up the transmission fluid. Get it back on the quick jacks and see if there's enough fluid in the transmission. I'm back at the transmission fill plug. I already broke it loose. Let's see if any fluid comes out. If fluid comes out, then we're good. If not, we got to add a little bit more. And because I just drove the car, the catalytic converter is super hot, so you got to be careful. Transmission fluid will probably be hot too. Alright, I don't see any fluid coming out, so I'm going to add a little bit more. Alright, I didn't have to add much. You can see that it's starting to come out. I just added a few more pumps. I'm just going to reinstall the fuel plug and torque it to 26 foot-pounds. Alright, the fuel plug has been torqued down to spec. Now I just have to install the panel and it's pretty much done. Alright guys, that's a wrap. Transmission panel has been put back on. Fresh transmission fluid, fresh diff fluid, and fresh engine oil when I did the rod bearings. Now all that's left is to put in fresh brake fluid and fresh clutch fluid. But I'm going to do that later when I overhaul the brakes, so stay tuned for that video. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe. Thanks for watching.